Good morning, everyone. It is 6:40 in the morning. I'm in a little town called Manitou Springs in Colorado, and I'm already breathing heavily, catching my breath. This is day one of a 4-day trip. I'm near Colorado Springs. This is the Colorado Springs area. And I'm here to do one hike, a very specific hike that I'm just about to catch a glimpse of right here. The hike is the Manitou Incline. It is extremely steep, 2,000 feet of elevation gain in less than a mile, nearly 3,000 steps. And here it is right here. Basically going straight up the mountain here. And that is a stairway to heaven if I've ever seen one. Because this hike is so popular, you need a permit or a reservation to do it. It's free, but you do have to pay for parking if you want to park close by. There's a free shuttle bus you can take if you park in town down that way. But I paid the $10 to park just right by here, within walking distance of the trailhead. And check this out. There's a sign here saying that hiking up this is the same as climbing the Empire State Building, as going up the Eiffel Tower twice, the Washington Monument 3 times, and the Statue of Liberty 6 times. Whew, I can already feel it. And I apologize if I'm breathing heavily as I talk to the camera here. I think that's going to be just part of the game on this particular hike. "18 minutes into the hike here. We are at step number 1,000, so about a third of the way up. Still got a ways to go. Look at that, that is amazing. So this used to be a narrow railway, like a cog railway. That's why there's this path up the super steep mountainside here. This steep part ahead of me here, where it kind of rears up and the angle gets steeper, reminds me of Inception, the movie Inception, where the streets like do that. The streets kind of double back. That's what I feel like. There's like this tidal wave of trail in front of me here. I think I'm at the base of the steepest section here. The average grade, average incline, average slope of this is 45 degrees, so, you know, pretty steep. But the steepest section is 68 degrees. I think that's this section behind me here. This is a very, very steep hike. I'm just at step number 1,900. On that plaque right there. 2/3 of the way there. Still a lot of steep hiking to come though. Step number 2,000. Slowly but surely. We're making our way up, making progress. Check this out. Fog has rolled in, making the stairs here feel kind of disconnected from the rest of the world. Pretty neat. Okay, I think this is the top of the steps anyway. 2,768. Oh man, feels good. I would show you the views from up here, which I'm guessing are pretty good from the top of the steps, but right now with the fog completely socking us in here, I mean, this is a fog whiteout. With this, there's not much of a view. But to give you some stats, I've been going for an hour and 17 minutes, 2,010 feet of elevation gain, 0.96 miles. And from the top, there are several different ways to get back down. You can just turn right around, go back down the steps. I don't want to do that. I don't think that would be very fun. There is a trail that cuts left directly from the top of the steps, and that kind of zigzags back down, sort of paralleling the steps. That'll take you back down. And then this trail that I'm on now, what I'm doing is going up a little bit more, and then this will slowly kind of make its way back down to the bottom of the steps. This is called the Bar Trail. I think it's the longest way to get back to the car, but it's a nice morning. The fog, I think, is pretty interesting, so I don't mind hiking in it a little bit more. I'll show you guys any viewpoints or scenic spots on the way down, but otherwise, I'll see you back down at the car. Well, it's about an hour and a half later. I'm back at the bottom. In fact, you can see it. You can see the start of the incline back behind me there. The level of the fog is definitely lowered as the morning has gone on. When I first started, I could see much more of the incline from the trailhead area here, but now I can only see the bottom part of it. That was an interesting hike, very unique. I mean, the trailhead here, the start of the trail is like at the edge of a neighborhood. Let me look both ways as I cross the street here. It's basically like a suburban hike. Cute little town here, Manitou Springs, and it just starts right there. Like, there are townhouses across the street here. Neat spot. I really enjoyed that though. I'll put the stats from the hike, from the whole loop, the round trip, on the screen here. And I read that that was the steepest hike in Colorado. I think that's probably if you don't include like going straight up a mountain ridge or something like that. But for like an actual trail, I think that's the steepest trail, established trail in Colorado, which in a state full of steep mountain trails, that's saying something. And I think that's probably like the craziest suburban trail I've ever been on. Really, really unique, really interesting. You definitely won't have it all to yourself. There were a bunch of other people up there, but I still really enjoyed it. And if you're in the area, worth doing. It's now 9:30. I haven't quite decided yet what I'm gonna do. I have a few options. I'm gonna sit here and think and look on my phone, see how far away I am from different things. Then I'll see you guys at the next destination, whatever that is. Look at that, beautiful clear blue skies. I'm above that layer of fog, above the layer of clouds. I drove through a town called Woodland Park. And it's funny because on the welcome sign to the town, it says the city above the clouds, or the town above the clouds, or something like that. Sure enough, that name held true today. I'm about 40 minutes up the hill from Manitou Springs and Colorado Springs, that area. And you might notice that I have a new accessory, a new look on the front of my Land Cruiser here. I've got a deer grill now to protect the front of my car in case I hit deer, which is a big fear of mine when I'm driving in the early morning hours or late evening hours. So some viewers, shout out to Mark and Amy, gave this to me. They are in fact the reason for this trip. They sent me an email and they said, hey, we have a Land Cruiser. We just bought a new front bumper, like a solid metal front bumper for our Land Cruiser. And it's the same generation as the one that I have. And they said, do you want the old deer grill that we had on the front there? And I said, sure. So I drove here and we put that on yesterday, so I'm liking the fresh look of it. I think it looks good. And they told me about this place that I'm at now. So down in Colorado Springs, there's a very famous spot called Garden of the Gods, and I was there the last time I was in this area. And in that same general vicinity is another very popular place called Red Rock Canyon. I think open space or something like that. This place is also called Red Rocks, but it's a much more obscure version of that. But I'm almost there. Looks like we have some really neat rock formations. And there's no one else here. I was the only car in the little parking area back there. Well, this is a great little spot, but the wind is just insane right now. I just flew the drone. I don't know if any of that footage is usable. The drone was just getting tossed around up in the air, but a really, really beautiful little spot here. I'm surprised how cool this is. Getting to the top of this spot here required some climbing, some scrambling that most people probably wouldn't want to do. But I mean, there are lots of little rock formations here. I think this would be a fun place for kids to explore. There are little caves and little nooks and crannies in the rocks. Really fun spot, beautiful little spot. It is now 11, it's only 11. I feel like I've lived a lifetime today. It's been a long morning. But I'm gonna head back to the car first of all, and then again, I've got options of things to do today. This is normally how I operate. I have a list of a bunch of things that I want to do on a given day, and basically I just choose from the list and see what I feel like doing. So again, let me get back to the car, let me consult the map, let me punch in some driving directions. I have several hours of driving to do later today, so I have to keep that in mind. But yeah, I'll see you guys at the next spot. All right, everyone, about 2.5 hours of beautiful mountain driving later, and I am at a place called Camp Hale. This was the training place for the 10th Mountain Division during World War II. And the 10th Mountain Division was a division of the military, of the army, that was specifically trained to live in and fight in the mountains. And so they would learn things like alpine skiing, Nordic skiing, mountain climbing, rock climbing, winter survival, snow survival, that sort of thing. And then after that, they were sent to Italy and also to the Aleutian Islands, I believe, in Alaska. And let me show you the valley out here where Camp Hale was. So this valley is at about 9,200 feet. It's a little bit north of Leadville, Colorado, which is the highest city in Colorado. And this whole valley out here was home to about 1,000 buildings and about 15,000 men. There's, again, really not much here at all. Back down the highway over this way is what I think is the entrance to the camp. So let's drive the half mile or so down that way and see what there is left to see. Again, not much, but there is a little bit that we can still see here today. We have some gates here, and then off to the left, there's a little, not visitor center, but there are some signs. Well, there used to be signs here. So I think this place is in a little bit of a transition right now. As you can see here, there were signs here, or maybe these are brand new and there will be signs here. This area was just designated a national monument like 3 weeks ago. This has been national forest for a long time. Here's a concrete structure. One of the things that is left from that time in the 40s during World War II. As I understand it, there have been efforts here for years at trying to get this place protected, just to share the history of this place more with more people, and to spread awareness of what happened here and what the men who were trained here went through. And so again, As of 3 weeks ago, this is a national monument. I believe it is the newest national monument. There's an interpretive sign over here. Let's stop and take a look. The sign here talks about what camp life was like as far as entertainment goes. There was a band, there was a newspaper, there was a movie theater, and soldiers also enjoyed 2 weekend passes a month and traveled all over the central Colorado Rockies. And it's really interesting that the men who came here and learned how to ski and everything, a lot of them returned to Colorado after the war, and it's thanks to them that Colorado basically became a ski destination. They invented new gear, new equipment, new techniques, and a lot of them were involved in either starting or managing a lot of the ski resorts that Colorado calls home. So very interesting. Also interesting is this thing right here in front of me. If you look online at pictures of Camp Hale, you see this a lot. This is one of the few structures, if you can call it a structure, that is still remaining. Let's go get a closer look. Actually, never mind, we're not gonna get a closer look because I was walking along here looking for another interpretive sign so I could find out what these things are. I don't see a sign, but I saw this sign right here. Danger, historic military area, asbestos hazard, stay out. Okay, we'll stay out. I saw another sign further back that way that said to be careful where you go because there is unexploded ordnance in the area also. So probably not the kind of place that you want to just wander around, but I think we can, through the power of technology, through the power of zoom lenses on cameras, get a little bit of a closer view, a closer look at this place. I also read that the 10th Mountain Division experienced the highest losses of any, I think, American division in the war. It's just very hazardous stuff that they had to do, you know, like climb up a couple thousand feet of mountain, like 2,000 foot high cliffs in Italy, and then attack the German strongholds on top. But what they were able to accomplish, they basically broke the German supply line going from Germany into Italy, and so that was obviously helpful, very helpful in the war effort. And in fact, back that way on the highway, I'll put a picture of it. I stopped there to take a picture. There is a big granite monument to those who died, who were members of the 10th Mountain Division. And I believe it said that it was dedicated to the 990 members of the 10th Mountain Division who were killed in combat. You'll notice also that this river here, so this is the Eagle River, it's very straight. I'm standing on the bridge right now. Very straight, and that's because it's channeled. When the Army Corps of Engineers built this place, so they built this like elevated platform basically in the valley to lift it above the river, and they also straightened the river to control its flooding. They did that obviously to make it suitable for their purposes of having tens of thousands of people here, and there is an effort underway apparently to return this to what it would naturally be, but you know, it's tricky because you have to balance, okay, this is a very artificial stream right here. You have to balance that with the history that went into this place, and you know, you don't necessarily want to completely return it back to its natural state because that would erase some of the history, some of the experiences of the men who first of all built this, but then also lived here, were trained here. And so I've watched a very interesting, like 30-minute long PBS video about this place on YouTube, just a free video. I'll put a link to that in the description if you want to learn more about Camp Hale and the 10th Mountain Division. After the war, after World War II, the 10th Mountain Division was disbanded, but it's been brought back a couple times over the intervening decades. And I think it's still around, and if I read this right, they were deployed to Afghanistan and Iraq. They've been in Haiti, and so yeah, they're still out there. Their motto, by the way, I want to look at my phone, I want to get this right. Great motto, climb to glory. Isn't that awesome? There's one other interesting story about this place, or I guess from this place, that I wanted to share. So there were actually German POWs here, prisoners of war. I believe they were with Rommel in Africa, then they were brought here after they were captured, and they would do menial things like construction and repairs and that sort of thing. And there was an engineer stationed here, an American engineer, whose name was Dale Maple. By all accounts, very smart guy, spoke a couple dozen languages. He had a scholarship to Harvard, and he'd graduated from Harvard. He was a Nazi. He was an American Nazi sympathizer, and he took pity on 2 German POWs here. He bought a car, he helped them escape, they drove south, they were heading for Mexico. Their plan was ultimately to make it back to Germany to fight. Well, they made it through Colorado, through New Mexico, and then they had made it into Mexico. They were 3 miles south of the border when a Mexican border guard was riding along with his wagon and horses. He saw these 3 gringos out in the desert. He was like, something's not right here. So ultimately he figured out something was fishy. He turned them back over to the US. I don't know what happened to the 2 German POWs. The Dale Maple guy was tried, court-martialed, sentenced to death, but I think that sentence was commuted to life in prison, but then that was reduced to 10 years in prison. I think he spent even less than 10 years in prison ultimately, and lived until like 2001 in California. So pretty interesting story, and an interesting place. I would fly the drone here, except for 2 things. First, it's now a national monument. I think there are some national monuments that are managed by the BLM or the National Forest and not the National Park Service, where you can fly drones. I don't know what the situation is like here. I'm not going to try it. I was thinking of just crossing the street over there. I think the highway out there, which is called, by the way, the 10th Mountain Division Highway. I think that's the boundary, the western boundary of the national monument. And so I think I could just go across the street and fly the drone over here, but it's still pretty windy out here today, and especially with the snow on the ground, you can't really see anything. I think that when it's dry out here, you can see where the buildings used to be, like the rectangles, the foundations, and just the outlines of buildings. But now with the snow here, it's beautiful, but making it harder to see that sort of thing also. Okay, it is now 3 o'clock. It gets dark at 5 o'clock this time of year. I have, I think, like 3 hours of driving, 3+ hours of driving to do. So I'm going to be driving a little bit in the dark to set myself up for what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. And I'm actually going to be driving out of the mountains to the desert in western Colorado. And so I'll show you guys my campsite when I find it. It'll be dark, but I guess I'll still show you if we can see something. So once again, I'm gonna head back into the car, back into the Land Cruiser, drive another, I don't know, a couple 100 miles, and I'll see you guys once I get there. Well, everyone, it's a couple hours after dark. It's incredibly windy, as you can probably hear. I found a campsite. It's not very good at all. It's just a little pullout on the side of a dirt road. But it's something. Got a full moon here. Let's wrap this up. I feel like a good half of my life, half of my time is spent battling wind or snow, wind and snow a lot of the time. I don't know if you can hear it or if you can see the rocking in the camera, but the car is getting rocked by the wind. I'm on sort of a ridge and so very exposed to the wind here. And I'd originally planned on camping another 3 or 4 miles down the road this way, but it must have snowed sometime in the last 2 or 3 days, and the road is muddy. It's been warm the last day or so, and so the snow has melted and the road is very slick, very muddy. This is a heavy car. It weighs like 3 tons, and so it doesn't do super well in the mud. Luckily I was able to back out of one especially muddy section, but man, always something. But had a great time today. Even though I did encounter wind and snow, still really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys did too. I'm gonna try to get some rest here tonight and figure out what I'm gonna do in the morning. I don't know if I'm gonna continue on foot down the muddy road, or if I'm gonna go back out that way and try to figure out something else to do tomorrow. I don't know. Guess you gotta tune in to next week's video and find out. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Be sure to check out Adventure Know-How, my new site, where you can gain access to a map of all of my free campsites, plus monthly bonus videos that you won't find anywhere else. Learn more at adventureknowhow.com. And for links to everything else SUV RVing related, visit suvrving.com. Links to these sites and more will be in the video description.